Today, I'm very pleased to have with me Dr. Thomas Fulbrook, who is a therapist based in Texas. And on behalf of Science by Amelia, I'm really excited to speak with you today. Tom, what I'd love to start with is just to hear a bit about your background and your practice.
Sure, absolutely. And it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I practice in both Nevada and in Dallas, Texas, actually a town called Frisco. I've been in practice a little over a decade. My primary focus with clients is, as you would imagine, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, and I'm also a grief specialist. So I have a focus there in working with parents who've experienced the death of a child.
Wow, yes, very, very meaningful work. And I would love to hear sort of how you were introduced to virtual reality and then to kind of Amelia specifically.
Great question. I started with virtual reality probably about 4 years ago, maybe 4.5 years ago. And I'd found a platform to work with. And I was really, really intrigued by it because I just saw it as an adjunct way to add to my ongoing treatment with my clients. And I really did like it. And I kind of came across SciAS as something that was being further developed a little bit more than what I originally had. It was very robust, and honestly, the support was really wonderful, and that really attracted me to SciAS. And it's been since I've been with them about almost 2 years now. That has been just an ongoing experience. The product keeps improving. There's new environments, and again, support is always there when you need it. So I've been very, very pleased.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. And I know you mentioned that you started using SciAS pre-COVID. I did want
Yes.
to ask you, COVID has changed so many things, and we're still in this prolonged period. It's not only changed life for us personally, but also professionally, especially for providers and how you're delivering care. So I'd love to hear how did you adjust in your practice? How did you adjust to COVID, and maybe how was SciAS a part of that?
SciAS was a huge part of that. And I wish I could say I had some thought of, gee, this is a possibility. I need to gear up for this. I'd already been doing telebehavioral health for quite some time.
Mm.
And when the pandemic started and things started shutting down and people weren't available to do in-person, sessions anymore, using the remote technology that SciAS offers it was just perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And people were so surprised. They're like, okay, we know we can do telebehavioral work, but you have the ability to do the VR work on how do you do that remotely? I've never heard of that before. And my folks have been really excited about being able to do that kind of work remotely. And to my knowledge, no one else has offered that. So it was timing. It was absolutely perfect timing to meet and collaborate with you folks, and then have a need that I didn't even know I was going to have. It just worked out really well.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. I'm excited to hear that SciAS was able to really support you in how you were delivering therapy throughout COVID, remote therapy, et cetera. And maybe we can just drill down into that because I think other therapists would really benefit from hearing specifically how you're using SciAS in your remote therapy sessions. How are you preparing or introducing it to your patients, and any specific environments that you may be using?
Sure, absolutely. When I start with new clients and I do my initial assessment with them, I do a psychosocial assessment. I start immediately talking about SciAS and some of the available environments based on their particular needs. So it's a conversation that happens very early on as I begin working with someone. And they may say things like, I've done mindfulness-based treatment before. I've done the meditation work. I've done the mindfulness stuff. I've done the cognitive diffusion. It doesn't really work for me, but this sounds different. So they actually come back around and say, maybe I'll try this. And instead of us sitting together and stepping through like a mindfulness meditation or a visualization, they'll try the VR work and they go, this feels different. It just, they're willing to try something maybe that they kind of tried a little bit before, but this is going to be a little bit different for them. So One of the environments that I really use a lot is called the deep roots. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you're familiar with that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I love that environment. There's an element of forgiveness and
Mm-hmm.
letting go and recycling that is just amazing. And I've had some tremendous success with that. I've had people that are like, I just haven't thought of it that way. It was good to go through that experience. And it's kind of at the end. And they're like, I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect it, but that's really helpful. The dolphins, the
Mm-hmm.
swimming with the dolphins is another one that I use, especially when there's issues with anger and again resentments and those kinds of things. A lot of anxiety. That's been very, very successful as well. I've had several of my clients that have just like that really made a difference for me.
That's really helpful to hear. And what about the equipment? Which options? I know Science offers many options for doing even the remote sessions, but I'd love to hear which equipment you're using and how you're helping your patients kind of set themselves up for it.
Well, of course, in office, I have the equipment that I got with SciS when I subscribed. And then for my remote users, they're using kind of a universal, they use their iPhone or their Android phones, and they buy the goggles online, usually through, venues like Amazon or something like that. They find it to be pretty affordable. And they still have a really good experience without going out and buying more of the VR glasses kind of thing. And some of them will upgrade those because they
Mm.
have such a good experience. They're like, okay, I see the benefit in this. I'm liking this. So I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the equipment. And some of them do that.
That's great to hear. Yes, and I'll just echo in there, which is that we find it very important to give people options, both the therapist and the patient. And there's the, what you mentioned, the native goggles, which is the Pico headset that we offer.
Uh-huh.
And it sounds like you use that in office sometimes, but what's
Yes.
very accessible to people is them, downloading the SciS app on their mobile phone and then putting that mobile phone into a universal headset, which they can just buy off the shelf from anywhere. As you said, that's very affordable. So that's really good to hear that you're kind of introducing your patients to it, that they're taking it upon themselves to buy these goggles and maintain it and even upgrade it when they have a positive experience.
I
Yeah.
use the marketing materials that SciS also provides, as well as the frequently asked questions and the general information that SciS puts out that are actually handouts. And I use that in practice as well. And it's like I tell them about VR work, the effectiveness of it, how to get started, and I'll use those handouts. And they really, really like that. There's one that's a step-by-step guide
Mm-hmm.
and it tells them exactly what to expect and how this works. The other one is they even have a handout on how to download the app, which makes it extremely easy.
That's good. Well, that's great that you have patients who read and follow instructions. That's always
I did
helpful.
not say all
Uh,
the time, most of the
yeah,
time.
yeah, no, but that's great. And so my last question is, what advice or guidance might you have? Because we're blessed to work with thousands of therapists, and some of them use it remotely, some of them are thinking about it. But what would your advice be to somebody who's thinking about using Amelia by SciS, or using it, maybe not yet using it in the remote mode, but are thinking about it?
I think that question has a couple pieces to it. And first of all, I would say definitely do your homework. Look at what SciS offers, but also look at the educational material and the guidance that's provided. And there's case studies, there's things like that that are actually available through the app. Really, really great resources. So it's not here we have a product, there are some virtual reality environments. Let us know how that works out. It's very structured. There's a lot of direction and a lot of education available on the site specific to using VR environments. So it's really good for that. And the other thing is don't be scared off by what I want to say the technology basis of this. This is easy to use. This is really easy to use. Anybody can pick this up, read the directions, establish a connection if they're doing remote or if they're doing in the office. And I mean, the first time I used it, it worked flawlessly. I didn't have a problem with it. It was really easy.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. You are an inspiration to us all for the
Thank
care
you.
that you're delivering and your innovative spirit. So thank you again. Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.